So first off, like 2020 in itself has been like quite a wild ride.
Yeah,
How are you holding up personally and as a band? Like, how are you doing in these times?
we are all doing pretty damn good, actually, under the circumstances. I think we are all kind of, uh, good at accepting things for what they are. If if it's out of our reach to change the situation, we accept it. And people, we ourselves and people close to us are all healthy and doing well.
Okay.
And the upside is, yes, it sucks that we had to cancel the Iron Maiden shows. It sucks that the touring this fall is canceled. But on the other hand, to spend this much time at home, we wouldn't ever be otherwise in a position where we would do that, probably. So, I'm here with wife and dog, and it's summer. And like I said, my parents are healthy, her parents are healthy. Can't complain like that. It's, we have to look at there's some good coming out of this, or at least for the time being. Knock on some wood right there, because we are not sick.
True. That's always the most important part, not to get sick
Mm.
yourself. Has it been difficult to deal with the current limitations in regards to executing your job as a band? How do you work your way
Yes.
around it?
Well, one thing is that, again, to even understand how are we a band if we don't hit the road now, and with me being in Finland and then being in Sweden without seeing each other. But weekly Zoom meetings, and also a more creative approach to what it means to be in a band. So we started suddenly to have, like many other bands have, to increase our social media presence in a way that we wouldn't have had otherwise. And some of it has been really fun. And, in the pipeline of things that is to come out, in the coming weeks and coming months, is some pretty cool things that we are working on. So I don't hate it. For a limited period of time, now we still enjoy it. And with the music videos, of course, we filmed both Colossus and Silence at the Age of Apes before shit hit the fan.
Mm-hmm.
But during editing, it showed that, so both music videos have a story element and a performance element.
Mm-hmm.
And Silence, the performance element was great. The story turned out to be shit. Once the editing started, it was evident that this is not good. And Colossus, it was reversed. The story thing came together very nicely. The performance that we had done for it turned out to be shit.
Mm-hmm.
So then, so we had to redo all those. But then we realized, once I had landed here in Helsinki, and so I can't go and see you guys. What can we do? And then we had to be inventive. And then that is how I ended up in those Polaroid pictures, because that is, again, my wife filming me out in the woods close to where we live. And that's how we became holograms in Colossus.
Mm-hmm.
So it forced a certain creativity on us. And there's something to be said to work creatively in limited circumstances. There's something, I guess, people who use just charcoal to make pictures, beautiful, beautiful art, instead of having every oil paint or everything available in a computer. To sometimes limit your tools makes you work more creatively and less technically. And then, of course, that being said, all the technical solutions that made this possible was the saving grace.
Okay. Looking back at the previous album, Avatar Country, with the whole cycle of the touring with it as well.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, the Kickstarter-backed movie. Evaluating everything, looking back at it, how do you think it went? Are there any things that you would have changed if you could have done it differently, if you know beforehand that the funding would have gone this way and all that stuff?
Well, in terms of the funding, we were able to use every single penny of it. It's very easy to spend money on filming. No, so there, and we did do things once the money started coming in those amounts. That is what made it possible for it to be more than just, let's do 3 more music videos, to do the little things in between. That came from that budget, made all those things possible. And still, we were our own crew. guys in the band built things overnight. We were holding the fans, throwing the snow into the fan. We did all those things ourselves and helping moving the lights around.
Okay.
And as if you weren't in a shot, you were assisting with the shots,
Mm-hmm.
So there are, of course, I think we learned a lot about storytelling and script writing, probably, that, you get better at certain things that then you could go back and make it better. But that doesn't mean that you should. That's the same with, we always joke about making a download patch to Thoughts of Tomorrow, so people can hear Thoughts of Tomorrow 2.0, because we wrote those songs as teenagers, and of course certain things would be done differently, but then it would no longer be that album done by super ambitious teenagers recorded in 2 weeks by their own money. Like, that changes everything around it, that gives it a value and gives it qualities that we can't recreate today. There's certain things you do in life that you then can't really do in a different phase in life, because you are different. It's like how now Hunter-Gatherer, and if you compare it to our past, let's go to Schlacht. That was because Hunter-Gatherer is, again, a very aggressive album for being us, and so was Schlacht. But they're still very different, and they're different because of where we are in life and our age and everything. Where Schlacht is, if it was a horror movie and I was the murderer, I would, bash your skull in with a hammer. So not a lot of finesse, lots of ambition, lots of blood, a lot of splatters, ugly and quite spectacular, but quite unfocused maybe, and not very refined. Then you write literally hundreds more songs, and revisiting something aggressive, you do it with more precision. It's more Hannibal Lecter. It's more someone who knows his way around surgical tools and knows where to stab or cut once for maximum effect. And both ways makes for spectacular killings, but in completely different ways. And I think, yes, this film was made for an audience of us and the backers. And all those people seem to have enjoyed it. We enjoyed it and appreciate it for what it was. We were even joking all the time when filming it that it was this, no one's going to get this except for exactly those who helped make this happen,
Inside joke movie.
This is so particular and specific, and and dumb in the best possible way. Mm-hmm. Well, that is what it was always meant to be, and it couldn't have been anything else with that premise. So if we would change anything, then we would have to change the whole premise, and that would have defeated the purpose of doing it.
Sure. All right. Avatar Country, like, it was kind of like a whole like package theme thing, especially live as well. Will we ever see it back in one way or another?
You mean like how bands 20 years after play an album in its entirety and stuff like that?
Sort of like that, because like right now with the previous album tour, mostly the shows were just like Avatar Country songs, and like the whole stage theme was set around it. Will that now just go away? Like with just next tours, we'll have one or two songs, or like?
Yeah, no, we're moving on to it's all about Hunter-Gatherer now, so to speak. That being said, that changes the approach a lot, because obviously the albums are very different. Yeah. So that creates a very different framework that definitely you will see in the stage show. The discussion, as it has been, is we've been comparing what Avatar Country as the show did well and what it was, boils down to being, in a way, pornography. Like, it didn't leave anything to your imagination. It was really literally shoving an idea down your throat. Yeah. And very, it was all out there. And then the contrast now would be to look at it more like eroticism rather than pornography, in that you create something where the audience do you plant seeds in someone's head, and they do some of the work as well, and that would, in practical terms, mean, yes, a more strict on stage in terms of amount of stairs and elevators, and focus more on, the dark vibe of the album and enhance that. So more looking more imaginative light show, perhaps. Things like that. This is really a work in progress, the way I talk about it, so it's still quite abstract. It also, I guess the comparison could be done, Avatar Country as a stage show was like an opera or a musical. You know, there's stuff on stage, there's a set. And that's one great way of using a stage. Another great way is the black box theater, more minimalistic approach. You have just a black, clean stage. And if you roll out a park bench, you're in a park. If you roll out the sofa, you're in a living room. And then the magic happens, the creation with smaller tools, and then just the performance of the actor and how they connect with the audience, and the quality of the actual play creates a different kind of magic where you fill in the blanks in the audience. So that is also a line of thinking. And also it's just about creating something that is more about nerve, maybe. And that even the clothes we wear now that were more designed with keeping in mind way more the idea of to be able to move in them freely. There are less layers to them, it's not, we don't show our nipples or anything, but it's still just less layers, literally, and if you put the extreme, if you look like a band like Lordi or a band or Gwar or something, there is a certain distance when there are so many actual physical layers between what you're doing and the audience. And if you strip that away, so it's more literally skin, you get closer maybe to something that is more earthbound, and which is again then connected to the music. So it changes. But that being said, once you have that framework, then of course Avatar on Stage is not just about the current album. Avatar on Stage is also about both the past and the present, and tiny seeds of the future, because we get ideas as we go along as well. So that means that we still then need to find ways of, okay, which Avatar country songs would we now like to integrate into to this set list, and how would they present themselves? Clearest example is always, for me, is when Michael Jackson does Smooth Criminal. There's a white hat and white jacket on, and hey, everybody, remember this music video? And so you still have that approach. And if you structure it the right way, like that could mean, you start the concert very much in a place that is, hunter-gatherer material that then leads into selection of older songs that makes the most sense with that. And then once you have worked that in the right way, then you want a bit of a scene change and stuff and lighten things up maybe. And then you can do a throwback to Avatar Country to and because that will be another emotional outlet that recharges the batteries for the next more, aggressive assaults that will come with other songs. So a lot of thought is being put into the set list and how the live show will reflect the set list in that sense. So there will always be room for that. It's always, the past is just as important as the present when you put together a show like ours, or any metal band for that matter.
Okay. But it's like highly unlikely that you'll ever do like a full-on Avatar country themed show again?
Yeah, I would say so. Again, let's see in 20 years, or one of those anniversary things, who knows? But that could also be said for, Black Walls, because what that important change that was for us, that would make sense maybe to do that with.
That was sort of like the breakthrough album, right?
Yeah, or definitely like it's still been stepping stones along the way, but we really went and started to go in the right track with that one, I think. Or you can take Feathers and Flesh, which is, because of the length of the album, it's 1 hour long, and that literally has a story with a beginning, middle, and an end. That could lend itself to that kind of treatment in the future, maybe. Because we didn't treat the show as conceptually with that album as we did with Avatar Country. So maybe that one deserves the treatment. Like, this could be an approach that we could have with anything really, once if the time would be right for it.
Okay. And the future of the Avatar Country website, what's in store for that? Is that going to like stay sort of like static in time, like remain Avatar Country themed, or is that going to move along with the band's new direction? Or
well, it's always going to be some version of Avatar Country theme, because we feel like, because ultimately, if the story of what Avatar Country became, ultimately, as it started as this inside joke that we then went crazy with and did an album out of. The beauty of that whole trip was how, people played along and played that game with us, and it really became a story about us and the audience. And all the fan art, and we did a museum on the road, and the Kickstarter campaign and the live album. It became bigger than us. And the idea then to form this, I guess it's a fan club around the idea of keeping that game going. Then it may or may not visually evolve at some point, but it's as it anyway is also the place with our Q&A live streams that we have done there, and just the things we have put there already, and we will definitely keep putting there. The core of it will still have an Avatar Country idea,
Mhm.
and that family feel that is built around that. So the name is being kept, I guess, unless we get this crazy, totally different idea in 5 years. Who knows? Because sometimes you do that,
Mhm.
but I don't see that happening now. Especially since we can't tour. A lot of what would happen, a lot of the things that you would get from being a member there was, of course, based around things that we would then be able to give back while on the road. And now we can't really do that because we won't be on the road for a while. So now we're kind of scrambling and again trying to figure out what we can do instead to make it worth people time and money to join. But it just means that it will evolve a bit slower than we intended for it, as is the case with so many other things right now. So therefore, I guess we will stick to that plan, just stretch out over a longer time.
Okay. Last Avatar Country related question: what's going to happen with the King's chair?
Maybe he finally got one back. So one is in his apartment and another one is in store. How many do we have? One is in storage in the States, I guess, and one is either in storage in our storage in Sweden or in the King's apartments,
Okay.
Because it all started, like, that is, again, older than the album, the whole Kungen thing.
Yeah.
So that was a birthday present. And
Okay.
then we came up with the album, and like, can we borrow that throne we just gave you? So then we took one, started to break it, gave him a new one, took it back again. So I don't know how many we have right now, 2 or 3.
Okay. Yeah, because I remember like reading every time, like in the lyric booklets of like all the older albums, like every time we'd say like special thanks to like Kungen and stuff. So like I caught on to that like pretty early as well. That was
Which was
that joke thing.
exactly. And then, like I said, and it grew way out of proportions after some point.
It was definitely fun to see. Onto Hunter Gatherer, how far in the process of like creating the album, writing, recording were you when the whole COVID-19 thing started to like impact your?
But we were done. We recorded everything except the vocals. We finished in December. And early January, Jay flew over here to Helsinki and we did the vocals. And mixing started there in February. And try to remember if the album was mastered at the time of the breakout, but I think it was like early March.
It was really.
So it was very last second. Yeah. And it was even scheduled for release originally in late May, early June. It was a bit if everything would fall into place. And then we were just not sure for a while there how bad exactly things were going to be. So we could for a while not confirm the exact release date. And the offices, the labels would need 6 weeks or something, no matter where we were put at some minimum. And that's why we had to push it towards August. Although ultimately we didn't want to push it at all or not do like postpone it to next year or anything, as we had been so open with the fact that we had been recording. So it wouldn't feel fair. And it also wouldn't feel right for us because any album becomes a document of who our enthusiasm is connected to, the feeling of that it is in the here and now also for us. We are right now the human beings who wrote Hunter Gatherer, you know, and but at some point enough time will pass and we will move on enough that Hunter Gatherer becomes, you know, part of our past and not our present.
Yeah.
And it will feel wrong to release an album with that feeling like that. So it was never really an option to postpone it, despite that, well, it might have been better for ticket sales or whatever to have everything more fresh out there. But who gives a fuck? We made the album now, and now is when it needed to come out.
It's more important what you think about it because it's your child after all.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I read somewhere that the album was recorded entirely on 2-inch tape. Do you know like what makes that so special? If there's any unique properties that make the music better because of that?
It's very much connected to the same reason why we record live. Analog isn't perfect. Neither is digital, because there is no such thing as perfect. There's some kind of clinical perfection, I guess you can reach. You know, also if you use Pro Tools to maximum, meaning you know, edit every drum beat and then sound replace it to make it perfectly even, so it doesn't matter that John played the drums, so it could have been anyone. And as we are not approaching it that way, and we want the human factor in there, that if you record an album, you get them live, every take will have, you know, no matter how well you play, it will have millions of microscopic mistakes, which makes it sound better. That's Led Zeppelin, that's Chuck Berry, that's the roots of recording music that is meant to make you move. And tape provides a certain level of imperfection that we still can't. There's no button for it in Pro Tools yet, and I doubt that there will be. It does something to the sound. You talk about a certain warmth. It's just properties that are very pleasant to hear and makes a recording feel differently. That there's no conscious controlled way of creating that a tape provides. It's just some aspects of the sound. It sounds a bit richer, a bit deeper, a bit fuller. It's like, I don't know, making a pasta sauce from scratch with fresh ingredients, or buying a fucking can of ready-made. It just adds the appreciation. Like, done right, it tastes better.
Okay. Did it take many takes to get the sound right for the tapes?
No, like it was fairly normal. We remain on schedule. Some songs were harder than others, but the secret, you know, the idea is to more time rehearsing, less time recording, and we spent the majority of like I said, some songs were challenging and took a bit more, but ultimately the excessive time spent on doing more takes and stuff was to try things. Was to approach it slightly differently, play around with arrangements, rewrite parts, do all that, and that is what it's meant to be. Again, this is how music was recorded for the first 100 years, since the late 1800s, and then something happened where you start to divide it. You just do the drums first, then the bass, then the guitars. That became standard. That ultimately it takes longer, and it's again less creative, because as everyone was there and recorded together, then everyone is there, so we can change things and try things and move things around and keep writing the songs while we record them. And that's the whole point also of, you know, trust the process and live with the process of making an album. There are different stages in that. There is that moment, that creative burst that you have when you sit on your own, when I sit at home and come up with my contributions and the other guys do as well, and you have your own little world of creation. Then is, you know, the next step of sharing that within the band, and then we start, you know, claiming ownerships of each other's ideas, and you know, go to the cabins together, write as a team, and come up with things and give immediate feedback. And then it's the next phase is, then it's finished, but it's not quite finished, because then you start rehearsing it and you come up with a ton of more things there, because then suddenly first time you actually play the songs together, a million things, realize, oh wait, this was a bit too fast, this doesn't feel right, or this is too slow, or or just like this part doesn't feel right when we are playing it together, and we can meddle with things. Then you enter the studio and you really nail the sound you want, and it's really what it all comes down to. And that it's again a different phase. I guess you have 4 phases of writing. Mm-hmm. And if you do everyone properly, if you spend a lot of energy in the beginning, then you had a lot to come with, so you have a lot to do as a group, and you can work a lot, and then that gives you tons of material to rehearse on, and make sure to spend a lot of time in there. Like it was all about that, especially on this album.
Okay.
I have to give you a heads up that in 3 minutes I have to move on.
All right. Let's see. How do you feel about rhythmic games? Let's say like Rock Band, Guitar Hero, that kind of stuff. What is your point of view on that? And how do you think Avatar might be able to fit into that? Or would you like Avatar to fit into that?
No, I would love to. It's a game. It is what it is, and it's fun. Actually, I once those things came out for the first time, it was called Guitar Hero, right? It was first.
Yeah.
Evergrey brought it on tour when we toured with them millions years ago now. Jonas bought it at home, played through it all, then sat down and started to learn all the songs on real guitar. I think there was probably a generation of kids who learned about music through that. I think that is, level 1, Ramones, I Want to Be Sedated, if I remember, was the song, on the first one. I think yet another generation who got to discover Ramones, and so on with everything else. And in terms of what are they called? The English power metal band, Through Fires and Flames by Dragon Force. I think they hit it as big as they did in that period because of that game that helped them, and no doubt about it. So it's all good, then you can, I guess the critique that someone would have is like, it's not really playing. No shit, it's not. But when I play ice hockey on Xbox or whatever, I'm not actually playing ice hockey. It's a fucking game based on something. Yeah, and it's a game based on something. And surprise, when I play Fallout, I don't know how to fire a rifle. I definitely don't know how to build, an outpost in post. I would die in reality if I was there, So that's, you can give music the same treatment. Why not?
On a scale of 1 to 10, how much would you like Avatar to eventually be part of like some kind of like rhythm games?
No, I'm all for it. I'm 100% for it. And games in general. We, especially me and Jonas, I guess, and to a certain extent, I guess Tim, play video games. We like it. And when done well, it's just like with movie soundtracks, that to be in a place that makes sense for our music to be, it's just a cool thing.
Okay.
And it would be and games like that is a no-brainer.
All right. Well, I guess that's it for now, and perhaps we'll talk again some other time.
Absolutely, and I look forward to it. Good to see you again.